So the last part of this chapter, let's solve a few questions now. Maybe next time or tomorrow I can solve a few more questions and finish this chapter. That is strategies in problem solving. Okay, here you are, there are several different types of questions in this part. They are all related to different topics here, maybe to profit and loss or higher purchase, simple compound interest. Okay, that's a kind of conclusion of this chapter. And we will finish this chapter tomorrow. So, strategies and problem solving. As you know, when we are solving problems, we can apply some different ways. We can solve the problems by drawing a table or drawing a kind of diagram or using the algebra, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And of course, it depends on you which one is the best one, the best method for you. You can use that method and solve this problem. Okay. But here, most of the time, you'll see that we are going to use algebra. Okay, use of algebra really makes solving problems quite easy. Why? Because using some variables and by using equations, we can just explore how things are related to each other. That means that this relation we are expressing an equation, and after that we have to solve this, and that's it. Okay, diagrams, charts, tables is also a good method, but sometimes it's not so practical using those methods. Okay, of course, depending on the problem, sometimes using tables is good, sometimes algebra is good, sometimes drawing a diagram, then solving is good. Okay, so here, example 21. Example 21. It says that every month, Mr. Lim uses 1/3 of his salary and $200 more on housing loan. When we are solving word problems, as you know that the first time when you look at the problem, just we need to scan it, read it so quickly. You don't have to understand every word, right? And the second time we read it, maybe you can just highlight some words or just underline this. And after that, the third step, we actually use a suitable variable to denote unknowns in the question. And after that, we form our equation, then solve it, get the answer, and pick the most suitable answers and write your result. That's all. Okay, we have to go through maybe 4 or 5 steps. So every month, Mr. Lim uses 1/3 of his salary, okay, and $200 more on housing loan, okay. He uses $400 less than 1/2 of his remaining salary on daily expenses. He uses $800 for his son's education and saves $500. What is Mr. Lim's salary? Okay, so now Mr. Lim uses 1/3 of his salary. What is Mr. Lim's salary? We don't know. So let's say first, Mr. Lim's salary is X dollars, right? So now how many different types of expense he has? Uses 1/3 of his salary and 200 more on housing loan. So that is the first expense, right? Let me just here, housing loan. Okay. The second one is he uses 400 less than 1/2 of his remaining salary on daily expenses. The second one is he has daily expenses, right? And he uses $800 for his son's education. So let me just write here, education, son's education, right? And saves $500. So his saving is $500. What is Mr. Lim's salary? Okay, good. So now we will start from here. So he has three different expenses, and the remaining one is saving. 1/3 of his salary and 200 more on housing loan. So here his salary is X dollars. So he's spending this 1/3 of his salary plus $200 on his housing loan, right? Spend. And now I can just write here remainder, right? After the how much is left. If he uses 1/3 of his salary and plus $200 on housing loan, how much left here? It is 2/3 of X, right? Minus 200. How do I know that? When we just add them together, it must give us X, right? 200 minus 200 is equal to 0. 1/3 plus 2/3, that's equal to 1. 1x equals X. So now, after spending on housing loan, he has this much left. All right. Next one is he uses 400 less than 1/2 of his remaining salary on daily expenses. So 1/2 of his remaining salary, that is 1/2 of his remaining salary, 2/3 x minus 200, and 400 less than this. So it is minus 400, right? He uses this much on daily expenses. Okay, so if I just simplify this, let me simplify immediately, or actually equals, anyway, let me just use this one, is this much, right? And education, he uses $800 for his education. So for education, he uses $800, right? And after that, he saves $500. So his saving is $500. Okay, so now all right. We have three different things here. Number one is he spent this much money on housing loan. He spent this much money on daily expenses, right? And for child's education, $800. And still his saving. What does it mean? Altogether, it should be equal to his salary, right? So if I just add them up together, and first let me just simplify this thing, remove the brackets, as 2 cancels each other, 1/3 x, and here half of 200 is minus 100, minus 100 minus 400, that is minus 500. So here his salary is X dollars. Let me just write without dollar sign. For house loan, it is 1/3 x plus 200, right? Plus daily expenses, 1/3 x minus 500, right? Plus education, 800, plus saving, 500. What we got here is just linear equation, as you see, right? So just we need to solve this for x. So if you simplify this, here we have x, 1/3x plus 1/3x, that is 2/3x, 200 minus 500, actually this 500, they cancel each other, right? 200 plus 800, that is 1000. Now by solving this, take this to the left-hand side, x minus 2/3x, that is 1/3x equals $1,000. So from here, dots, 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 Mr. Lim's salary is how much? $3,000. Okay, using algebra.
Sir, no, please explain again about reminder points. I didn't got it.
You mean explain everything or?
Reminder points, sir. 2/3x minus 200. And I don't got it.
Okay. You mean this part, right?
Yes, sir, yes.
Okay. So here, he says that 1/3 of his salary and 200 more he's spending on housing loan, right? The first expense. Now he has this income. Expending means we are just deducting this amount from this X, right? And the remainder is this minus this. So if I just write here, this X minus, I have already spent on housing loan, that is 1/3x plus $200. So that's the remainder. Now what I have after I spent on housing loan. If you simplify this, x minus 1 over 3x, that is 2 over 3x. Minus plus 100, it is minus 200. The same thing, right? So actually, after I spend on housing loan, now I have this much money left. So I continue spending, right? Now I have to spend from this remaining amount on daily expenses, right? And okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now let's move to the next example. Strategies and problem solving. There are a number of strategies that can be used to solve math problems. As follows, create a diagram. Creating a diagram can help mathematicians to picture the problem and find a solution. Guess and check, that is guess and trial method. Use a table or make a list. Logical reasoning, find a pattern, working backwards. There are a lot of patterns, but I'm not going to show every method here. But here, this math, we focus on some methods only. Maybe in this question, we will actually use tables. All right. So in this question, it says that Sue, May, Lily, and Alvin each received some sweets. It's a long question, but you will see that when we just solve this using tables, it is a very easy question. All right. So Sue, May, Lily, and Alvin. These are maybe the names in Singapore. That's how people use these names. Anyway, Sue, May, Alvin, Lily, and Alvin, 3 people, 3 friends, each received some sweets. Sume gives part of her sweets to Lily. Part of her sweets means how many sweets is she given to Lily? We don't know. Some sweets, right? So actually, algebraically, I can just use this x, but here we are going to use this table. Algebraic method, I suggest you may try algebraic method yourself at home. Anyway, Alvin saw that Sume gives part of her sweets to Lily and Alvin so that their respective number of sweets is doubled. Okay, and Lily gives part of her sweets to Alvin and Sume so that their respective number of sweets is doubled. And Alvin also gives part of his sweets to Sume and Lily so that their respective number of sweets is doubled. If all 3 of them eventually end up with 240 sweets, how many sweets does each of them receive originally? Okay, in this problem, what's going on here is these 3 people, right? They're just giving or maybe sharing. Then the first place, Sume S is given to L and A, right? After that, Lily is given to Sume and Alvin, and after that, Alvin is given to Sume and Lily. But each time when they just do this and they count their candies, they're doubled. Okay, so here, let me draw a table. If you just make a kind of table here, all right, this is our table. This is number 1. All right. So this is number 2, number 3. All right. And here we have the first one, the second one, and third one. Okay. So original number of sweets. We don't know this original number of sweets. How many? We are trying to find here. The first guy is Sume. This one is Sume. Second one is Lily. This one is Lily. Third one is Alvin. All right. And the question is, if all of them, 3 of them eventually end up with 240 sweets, how many sweets does each of them receive originally? So we are trying to find originally how many candies does or did Sume have, and Lily and Alvin. Okay. In the first case, it's saying that the Sume is giving, right? Sume gives part of her sweets to Lily and Alvin. Here, Sume is giving to Lily and Alvin. In the second case, Lily is giving to Sume and Alvin. In the third case, Alvin is giving to Sume and Lily, right? But if I work here big word, it says that after Alvin gives to Sumay and Lily, right? If it says that Alvin also gives part of his sweets to Sumay and Lily, so that their respective number of sweets is double. If all three of them eventually end up with 240 sweets, how many sweets does each of them receive originally? So now Endo, that is the last thing, right? After that, they stop sharing, right? So here at the end, it says that they end up with 240 sweets. Here, Sume has 240, and Lily has 240, and Alvin has 240 sweets. All right. Alvin gives some of them, right, here. Before this, how many Alvin have here? Look, Alvin is given to Semay and Lily, these double, right? So that means that before Alvin gives, how many candies did Sumay have? Because after Alvin gives to these people, it is double, right? So that means that half of this one before this Sumay has 120. How about Lily? Also he has 120. But now Alvin has 240 after giving 120 to this girl, 120 to this girl. So before giving away his candies to these people, then Alvin had 240 plus 120 plus 120, right? That is 120 plus 120. The first one 240 plus 120 plus 120, 240, that is 480. Before this, Alvin had 480 candies, right? Now here it says that Lily, right? Lily is giving, this is Alvin after gives, right? Here, after Lily gives, right, away, this Lily is giving to Sumay and Alvin, then their candies are doubled. So that means that before Lily gives candies to her friends, how many did Sumay have? After she received from Lily double, so before this, she had 60. And before this, he had 240. And before this, he gave 60 to this girl, 240 to this girl. So here, 120 plus 60 plus 240, that's equal to 300, 420. So he had 420. Now, how about Sumay? When Sumay gives some candies to these people, it is double, right? So that means that she give how many to Lily and Alvin? So before giving, to double this one, she must have given 210, right? So here, 210. Because Lily, the Sumay give to Lily 210 candies, so Lily's candies doubled here. 210 times 202 is 420. And also Sumay gives some candies to Alvin, then Alvin's candies are double. So before this, so Alvin had 120. Then Sumay had how many candies originally? As she had here 60, and she gave away 210 to Lily, 210, and 120 to Alan, 120, which is equal to 330, 390. So here, Sumay had 390. The question is, if all three of them eventually end up with 240 sweets, how many sweets does each of them receive originally? So originally, Sumay had 390 sweets, and Lily had 210 sweets. Alan had 120 sweets. Okay, using tables, and after that, you move in big word, right, and get the solution. The first procedure, the second one, and the third one. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. All right. The last question for today. All right, and after that, I'll finish the class. That's enough for today. Tomorrow also we'll solve maybe 2-3 questions, and So the first one we use algebra, and the next example we use table. So here we will see. Example 23. In 2005, Mr. Ten received a 10% pay rise. The following year, his pay was cut by the same percentage when his company turned in a poor performance. After the pay cut, did Mr. Ten take home more or less than before the pay rise? And that's a pretty easy question, right? And first, here we have two different years, 2005 and the next year, 2006, right? And assume that in 2005, his salary was X dollars. Or you can just write $1,000, $100, $2,000. In general, it is X dollars, right? And after he gets 10% rise, right? Now, what is his new salary? New salary is 10% plus of this one, that is 110%, that is 1.1x dollars in dollars. So this is his new salary. If his salary was $1,000, now his new salary is 1.1 times 1,000, $1,100, right? For example, if it is $100, $110. But to some reason, because of this coronavirus or some kind of crisis, the company decided to cut his salary by 10% next year. But now, when he actually enters the 2006, his salary was this, right? And if you get confused, you can just write here, this one is $1,000. After 10%, now it is $1,100. So now his salary is $1,100. So now it says that the following year, his pay was cut by the same percentage, that is 10%. So now here we have his salary is 1.1 X dollars. So here minus 10%. So that is, what is the increase? It is 110%. If they actually cut by 10%, now here it is 90%, right? So here we have 90% of this amount he's getting, taking home. Okay, what is this? I don't know. So which is equal to 0.9 times 1.1 times x, which is equal to, if you multiply this, that is 0.9 times 1.1, that's equal to, what is it? 0.99x dollars. Here, at the beginning, his salary was X dollars, right? But now he's getting 99x. What does it mean? This 99x means 99% of X. Actually here, after these two changes, comparing to his original salary, right? At the end, it says that after the pay cut, did Mr. Tan take home more or less than before the pay rise? Now he's taking less. If the next question is by how much comparing to this 1% from his 2005 salary before the pay rise? 99% and 1%. Okay. So the answer is take home more or less than before the pay rise. So we just write here, Mr. Ten takes home less than before the pay rise. Okay, that's all. Right, thank you very much. That much is enough for today. We will continue tomorrow. And you will have quiz next week, as I told you, from chapter 8. Okay, there will be around maybe 10 or 15 questions, not more than 15 or not more than 20, but let's see, depends on the question. If it is easy, more. If it is difficult, I mean, it takes time, less. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.